We have tonight two Jewish miracles. Number one, we are right on time. It's never happened before with a Jewish group. Secondly, we have approximately 500 people from 100 countries here, and we all seem to agree. For some reason, Budapest was more appealing than some of the other cities we suggested, but thank you again. Prime Minister Orban, President Majikaz, my friend Peter Feldmayer, Director Gustav Soltai, Cardinal Erdo, rabbis, ministers, and members of parliament, distinguished ambassadors, representatives of our Jewish communities around the world, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. First of all, I want to thank Peter Feldmayer and the wonderful Jewish community here in Hungary. I thank you. The fact that we're here tonight, representatives of Jewish communities from 100 countries around the world, is a tribute to the strength, resilience, and vitality of Hungarian Jewry and to your leadership, Peter. Thank you. Prime Minister Orban and Cardinal Erdo, we thank you for being with us. Your presence here tonight is also fitting because Budapest's history is tied to Jewish history. Less than 100 years ago, a quarter of this great city's population was Jewish. Hungary's Jews contributed to the country's economy, its culture, and its universities, as well as extraordinary tradition of math and science. Albert Einstein happens to be one of the few top physicists in the last century who was not born in Hungary. But figures such as Szilard, Teller, and Johnny von Neumann were just some of the brilliant Jewish minds that all came from Hungary and left a huge impact on the world. Joseph Pulitzer, one of America's greatest newspaper publishers and the founder of the most coveted prize in journalism that still bears his name today, came from Hungary. And of course, Theodor Herzl, who founded the modern Zionist movement that led to the creation of Israel, is from here as well. My own mother's parents were born here in a town that I can never pronounce, Shakualaluiha. Her family, mother's family, came here in the 13th century, a long time ago, and it was a special Jewish community at that time. So you see my connection from Hungary goes far, far back. But sadly, all of the famous Jews I mentioned, and there are many more, Nobel laureates, artists, and scholars, all left Hungary because they were forced to leave. The rise of anti-Semitic parties in the 1920s and 30s led finally to the darkest chapter of all, the deportation and gassing of approximately 400,000 Jewish men, women, and children. A staggering 1/3 of the Jewish people killed in Auschwitz came from Hungary. It's also clear that these dark forces of anti-Semitism, had they not been allowed to rise in the 20th century, all of Hungary would have prospered. This always strikes me as so obvious. When Jews are allowed to live their lives freely and practice their religion, countries always flourish. It is obvious, but all too often, the irrational hatred that of anti-Semitism defeats common sense. After 1920, the government of Miklos Horthy, a vicious anti-Semite, moved Hungary towards the irrational hatred. His government passed successive anti-Jewish laws, and he aligned himself at that time with Nazi Germany. And in 1938, the Horthy regime enacted its version of the infamous Nuremberg laws. The first deportation of Jews from Hungary occurred in 1941. This was during the time Admiral Horthy was here regent. I'm recalling these facts now, not because we're not familiar with them, but today we are seeing once again growing ignorance, growing intolerance, growing hatred. Once again, we see the outrage of anti-Semitism. This is no means only in Hungary, but in other places in Europe, in Greece, where I was a few weeks ago, in Ukraine, and elsewhere. We see that Jews and other minorities are singled out, vilified, demonized. We see that more and more people openly deny the Holocaust, which happens to be one of the most well-documented facts in history. We see that a growing number of people actually believe the old canard, that Jews control world finance, or the media, or for that matter, everything. And we see that Jews again are being blamed for economic troubles. Today, there are members of the Hungarian parliament who want the government to draw up a list of Jews who hold public office. That sends out warning signals around the world. And the press and on television, anti-Semitism and incitement against the Roma minority is becoming commonplace and sometimes even accepted. We were shocked to see that an anti-Semitic TV presenter was awarded a prize. Thankfully, the government had that prize withdrawn. But the fact that he was awarded the prize in the first place makes us very, very nervous and worried. And there's a journalist, Zsolt Bayer, who recently called, and I quote, about gypsies, cowardly, repulsive, noxious animals. He said they were unfit to live among people, and called for dealing with them immediately. Such words are reminiscent of the darkest era of European history. Let us never forget the Roma were also victims of the Nazi Holocaust. Today, many Jews are again wondering whether they will have to leave this country for similar reasons. Because they wonder why anti-Semites like Miklos Horthy are being glorified and why statues honoring him are unveiled by Hungarian officials. I understand the problems about various small communities, what they can do, and their ability to be independent. But it still does not belie the fact that Horthy was equivalent to Hitler, and to see statues of him going up is the wrong signal. When Hungarian Jews are attacked by fanatics, they look for the unequivocal support of their government and the authorities. It's the authorities themselves that can stop this. Mr. Prime Minister, I know that the Hungarian people love freedom, and they are courageous. They were the first ones to raise up their hands against communism in 1956, and was the first country in 1989 to start or to chain reaction which opened the Iron Curtain and brought down the Berlin Wall. For this, the world thanks the Hungarian communities. And Mr. Prime Minister, you were part of this. And you did many things positive at that time. The fall of communism paved the way for a rebirth, not just of a new Hungary, but also the revival of Jewish life here in Hungary. And nobody, frankly, after the Shoah, ever could believe it. I remember when I opened my camp, summer camp, in Szarvas, in the south of Hungary, 25 years ago. And we had there about 400 children from all over Europe were standing there. And the translator, as I was speaking, started to cry. I turned to him and I said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Old man, I never thought I'd see Jewish children again in Hungary singing. And it's something that I remember all my life." I also decided to support this Jewish Renaissance. And in 1990, I established the Lauder School in Budapest. We now have 600 Jewish students a year, and enriching their lives. You've seen tonight 50 of our best singers. I, for one, would never be in any choral. I am very proud of all the things we've accomplished. And tomorrow night, you'll be having dinner in our school. I don't know if we can fit everyone in the room, but I think you'll be very interested to see. I've also had the honor of being able to rebuild several of the synagogues. And I think many of you yesterday went to the synagogue, the Doheny Synagogue. Let me be no doubt, I still believe in the future of this country, and so do many others. Prime Minister Orbán, I thank you for your presence here tonight. It is no secret that Hungary's international reputation has suffered in recent years. But Hungary's good name was not smeared by the foreign press, but by extremists. Mr. Prime Minister, we are especially concerned about one particular party. I am talking about Jobbik, that party that won almost 17% of the vote in the 2010 elections. Though through its anti-Semitism, its hostility to Roma, and its paranoid rantings of the outside world, Jobbik is dragging the good name of Hungary through the mud. That same party held a demonstration just yesterday against our gathering here in Budapest. Granted, there were few people, but it was symbolic because they were told that they should not protest. Hungarian Jews, Mr. Prime Minister, need you to take on these dark forces. They need you to be proactive. They need your leadership in the fight. They need you to send a message to the entire population that intolerance will not be tolerated. As President of the World Jewish Congress, I ask you to please demonstrate and talk about this great country's pride traditions. It's time for leadership and strong actions. We truly hope that you'll be successful. Fascism and intolerance always single out the Jews first, but they are never the last victims. All good people suffer, countries suffer. In the end, the hatred and intolerance only destroys a nation's hopes, its progress, and its future. Mr. Prime Minister, this hall is full of hope. We welcome you here to our gathering as you and the majority of your compatriots have welcomed us to your country. We thank you for being with us in this stunning, beautiful city. Mr. Prime Minister, please come forward. Thank you very much.